So I'm Jimel. I am a esthetician and then also full-time DJ. Current, really love it. My DJ's name's Baby Reina. I grew up here, Virginia Beach, all my life. Didn't make it too far. Is that what you asked? So my parents met in America, but so they're from two different places. My mom grew up in the Subic Bay, Olongapo area where the base was. And then my dad's side of the family is from Hirona, Tarlac. Ilocano dialect, but we grew up Kapampangan and Ilocano at the same time. I would say resilient because we have one of the most people that travel to become overseas workers. And it's like in our tradition to care about our family. So a lot of them are sending money back, working jobs, just being really selfless people just to make sure that our families are happy and that we are secure and stable. And no matter what they have to do in order to make that happen. And then boundless because not only are they hardworking and masipag, they're so talented. No matter where you go, there's always, no matter what they go through, no matter what's on their plate, you always find a Filipino person that is joyous, hardworking, and nothing can stop them. So that's how I describe it. My parents met here in America, but my mom married previously to come here, and then she raised all of me and my siblings. There's 6 of us. And my dad's side of my family, they had the more traditional route where first came my grandparents, and then one by one, they brought in all their kids, which is a lot. Kids and the families, because they had 7 kids all together, plus all the grandchildren. And then they came here, my parents met, and they made me. I have so many.
Dump it all.
Okay. So my special interest growing up has always been anthropology, culture. I was always in the library section reading about different cultures. And I don't know if it's because I'm Filipino. Every Filipino has like this insane amount of pride for being Filipino. And I was one of those kids. And I was always reading about our culture, our mythology, folklore, practices, why we came the way that we are. And then as I grew up, I kind of started to discover our pre-colonial roots because first half of my life, I wasn't really aware of our pre-colonial roots. It's just post-colonization of understanding like Catholicism. Even like when it came to traditional wear, I had no idea that we had a lot of indigenous roots or even Muslim roots that were so prevalent in the Philippines. And with that, I started to make connections with the ASWANG, Manananggal, where the first half of my life, it was a story, like a campfire story that your family told you, or when they wanted you to behave, they'd be like, the ASWANG will get you, the Mumut will get you. And I've always really loved horror, so anytime it would show up, it's like, Philippines mentioned. There's an ASWANG, there's a Manananggal. But then the later half of my life, I started making those pre-colonial connections. And I was reading about a whole bunch of texts, and it's very limited. So it's a little sad, but exciting to know that it's not lost at all. And we have evidence that it's there. But I was reading texts that babaylans were considered the same, what's the word? They were in power as the chiefs. So they were healers, spiritualists, and then also midwives. So they were mirrored to be like the Manananggal. So Manananggal eats babies, babaylans were midwives. Manananggal had an odor. They smelled bad. They were holistic herbalists and spiritualists. So I thought that was a very, very interesting way of viewing how Aswangs and Manananggals came to be. And it kind of made me wonder, like, what about the rest of the world, and what are those cultural influences or colonizations influences, and why the Aswang came to be? Is it real, or is that really what it is? So it's a lot. Layered, complex, but very interesting. Yeah.
No, yeah, I love all of that about the babaylan. I've been looking so much into that
Yes.
recently.
Yes.
Like, that's my own little deep dive, like the past maybe like year or so.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I've always naturally gravitated to that.
Mm.
I've been practicing spirituality for a while. I go to this store right here all the time to re-up. So I'm working on my apothecary. I work with a lot of herbs, making my own tinctures, and even Anna, my cousin, like I go to her for a lot of like OG advice of like what to put on my altar to honor my ancestors and everything. And that's been like an ongoing practice for almost 10 years now. Yeah.
That's really
So,
impressive.
when I learned about the babaylans, I was like, oh, it's in my blood. That's why I feel so naturally gravitated towards it. But yeah. I've heard all the other like duende and ghost stories, but my mom told me that she was pregnant with my third eldest brother, and she was on the top floor of their house or their building, and all of her family was on the bottom floor, and she was just chilling on the bed. She's rubbing her belly. She's about to give birth to my brother, and she sees in the Philippines the windows are railings, and she tells me she just sees bloodshot eyes kind of just feral, just staring at her tummy, and she got really scared. She went downstairs and told her family, and of course, wanting to protect her, they all ran out to protect her to go chase it off. And then when they all looked up, it was something flying the size of a dog. Yeah, so that's really interesting. But also, my logical mind, I do know that in the Philippines, they have bats that are like almost our height.
Oh, I see.
You know what I mean? So it's just like they do have beady eyes. They do have bloodshot eyes. But also the mysticism of it is also really. So we're saying it's an us. It's not a fox bat. It's a song. Balancing act. I think that naturally I see being Filipino, we're a collectivist culture. So being a collectivist culture, you're really selfless, hospitable, and we're taught the importance of legacy and having responsibility to always consider your close ones and your loved ones around you. But then sometimes that lacks boundaries. It's a beautiful thing to have. Sometimes I come upon people of different cultures, and there's definitely like nuance to being Filipino of like the way that we love is really different. The way that we care is very deep. But also the balancing act is being here in America, you learn about your individuality and naturally want to lean more onto that. And we kind of just want to think outside of the box of like what we were taught. So it's having this beautiful selfless soul, but also wanting to break free of the bounds of what's expected of us, to be more creative or to pursue careers that weren't the safe route. And I really respect that because our parents and our parents before did what was safe to make sure that we were safe, but now we're safe. And just sitting in that, kind of reminding our families that we're safe now, we're secure, and now we can think outside of the box, which is in itself, it's a journey to be on, but having those both sides has given me a really great and grand perspective of how to balance things in my life. Naturally, being from the Philippines, I think they'd also have characteristics of being resilient and adapting. I think they would be doing what they were doing pre-colonial America. Post-colonial America, I think it might be a little different of a story, but I definitely think that they would have their feeding grounds just as they would in the Philippines, just a different font.
It is a strange one.
Yeah.
It's like, here's this weird hypothetical.
Yes. Hey, they gotta get their meal. They gotta get their meals in. They're gonna get their meals in. I hope that we can spread more empathy and intersectional awareness to our own um, family bloodlines so that they can also understand where we come from, because it's like we are taught so much of our traditions and our culture growing up. I just hope in the future, as generations go by, the elders start to catch up with what are the societal pressures and expectations of what it is to be an American outside of being Filipino. So it's like intersectionality, awareness,